So in today's video, I want to dive into a realistic look into how many hours pros actually train each week. The main reason that I wanted to make this video is because with a quick Google search, you quickly find some unofficial sources that say 4 to 6 hours a day and up to 30 hours per week, which in a way is technically true, but that's not 4 to 6 hours of on-ball training every single day or 30 hours of on-ball training per week. If we look at this research study that looks into the recovery techniques for a Premier League team, we can actually get a really good glimpse into a jam-packed monthly schedule while this team's in season. As you can see by this month, it's gonna be extremely taxing on the body because they have 9 games in 31 days. And out of this entire month, they only have 3 rest days. But because they're playing so many games, their actual training load is really, really light. 16 out of the 31 days are doing light training sessions preparing for a game or extremely light recovery sessions after the game, which are probably anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half in length. In fact, there's really only 3 real training days in this entire month where they're getting a full hour and a half to 2 hour session in the morning and then have an hour in the gym in the afternoon. And this is because at the professional level, the primary goal for these players and for these teams is to perform and to win. The secondary focus is on development, and that's completely reversed if you're a youth player. Now, there is one time of the year where professional teams really ramp up their training workload, and that's during preseason. But even nowadays, teams are taking a much more scientific, periodized approach, gently ramping up the intensity versus the old days where they would just run and push the players into the ground until they're throwing up and almost go to unsafe levels of training. Even though this article is almost 10 years old, we still get a really good glimpse into the Wolves preseason back in 2011. As you can see by this full day breakdown, they get into the facilities around 7 a.m. and have a light optional breakfast. And then they have about an hour in the gym where they do some jump testing and a lower body lift. After that, they have a second breakfast, and then they have some agility testing combined with some stretching and some football tennis. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they have lunch, and then they start their team training session on the field at 3:15 through about 4:25, which is made up of some fitness with the ball, a possession drill, some 800-meter runs without the ball, and in total, this session is only an hour and 15 minutes. They then finish with some recovery, they finish with some ice baths, massage, and rest. So if you're counting everything they're doing, it might come out to about 4 to 6 hours in the day. But if you're really looking at their team training on the ball in this preseason, in this given day, it's only about an hour and a half. And you know, this is a 10-year-old article only looking at one specific day of one preseason of one team, but still, I think it's a really realistic look into what these players are doing every day. I also stumbled upon this research study following an Italian Serie A team in Italy during their preseason for a 2-week training camp, which arguably is probably the toughest time of their entire year. But this also gives a fantastic look into their weekly training schedule. Day 1, they just have one team training session in the afternoon. On day 2, they do a little strength work in the gym, then they head out to the field, get in their first training session in the morning, and then they have their second training session in the afternoon. On day 3 though, they just have one training session in the morning. Then on day 4, they have a single team training session that afternoon. Day 5, they have strength work in the gym, and then 2 team training sessions, another tough day. But day 6 is just a light session in the morning, and then an exhibition match that afternoon against a Bundesliga team. And then on day 7, just a light recovery session. The second week looks very similar, and again, this is their most rigorous time of the year. And then once the season starts back up, you can definitely expect their training workload is going to drop and look like that first monthly training regimen that you guys saw with the Premier League team. Now, figuring out how much players actually train in off-season is almost impossible because I think it varies so much from player to player. If we look into the Wolves article again, we can actually see a little paragraph briefly discussing what the players do during their off-season. The Wolves players are told to take a complete break from exercise for 2 weeks at the end of the season, but they are given a program to follow over the next 4 weeks that requires them to train for 45 minutes every other day, ensuring that they report back for preseason in reasonable shape and close to their normal level of fitness. So those were the few articles and research studies and credible sources that actually dove into how much these players are training every single week, preseason, in season, and off season. It's not much, but I think that's the best that we can get at this moment. And I know that I'm only playing in the 2nd division of the United States, but that's really, really similar to what I've seen in my career as well. And I don't want to give you the wrong example. Pros still work extremely hard, but majority of their workload comes from games. Then depending on how their bodies are feeling, they can get some extra work done after training or before training, or maybe in a separate session, go into the gym on their own, do some extra stuff, but it's all dependent on how their bodies are feeling. So now I want to end this video with a little lesson for everybody. everybody. If you're a youth player, a semi-professional player, a collegiate player with ambitions to play at the professional level, when you see how these pros are training, both preseason, in-season, whatever, you should honestly be doing a little bit more than they're doing. You're in a different stage of your career where the focus is on development, and you can kind of push your body a little bit more at the expense of maybe your performance in the game. And I'm not saying run your body into the ground so that you're so sore you can't play at all, but kind of find that balance that's right for you. What you can take away from these professional players and their training regimen is sometimes it's quality over quantity. I think that's the main takeaway that you can get from looking at these pros' schedules. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, guys, peace.